Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hey everybody, how you doing? Let me turn this way. Yeah, there we go. Hi, how you doing? It's Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic, coming to you live from St. Louis, Missouri, my hometown. I have a lot to tell y'all this week. A whole lot. Last week, I did a lot of interviews and dealt with a lot of screenings and all of that. And I had an opportunity to speak with the BBC World Service Radio about Snow White. I have some things to say about that. Needless to say, but welcome to the broadcast. If you are on here right now, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click the bell for notifications. If you are on YouTube, if you are on one of the other social media platforms, welcome and thank you so much for joining me. Brandon is always in the house and he says he can't wait for Lilo and Stitch, Elio, Smurfs Grand Prix, Bad Guys 2, and Zootopia 2. Baby, you got a lot going on, but we there for you. We there for you, Brandon. I'm slowly but surely getting back to what is my normal. For those of you who have been wondering why my streams have been inconsistent or you haven't checked in on me in a while, I had a major familial loss. I lost the patriarch to my family a month ago tomorrow. And it's been a struggle, but I'm trying to soldier through it and do what he would want me to do. And that is to continue on with the blessing of life that he gave me. So having said that, this is what we're going to talk about today, babies. I got a whole bunch of stuff for you. So we're going to talk about these particular things. We're going to talk about Control Freak. I got some things to say about that. We're going to talk about Duplicity. I have the cast interview from that particular film is what I'm trying to say. It didn't come out right. I also have the cast and creatives from Bob Trevino Likes It. I love that movie so much. I also have interviews with Jonathan Majors. We got some things to say about that when we get to him. He's talking about his film Magazine Dreams. And of course, we're going to talk about a little White Lotus with my girl Natasha Rothwell. And then we're going to get into Miss Snow White. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have reviews about the documentary Fight for Glory 2024 World Series, which is going to be on Apple TV+. We're going to talk about The Friend with Bill Murray and Naomi Watts. I'm going to talk about Happy Face, which is a series. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to also do a review of The Life List. Oh, excuse me, my nose is wearing me out. I also interviewed the cast of The Ballad of Wallace Island, so we'll be talking about that a little bit. I have The Luckiest Man Alive coming up in a minute, and I think that about does it for the coming weeks in the future. But right now, we're going to get into a little Control Freak. So Control Freak is this film that I watched streaming on Hulu now, and it's a little bit of a horror movie. It's a lot more of a horror movie than I had anticipated. It is directed and written by Shal Ningo. I forget how to pronounce the NGO when it comes to that particular pronunciation, so I'm going to just say Nyo, who's known for his work on The Park, The Box, and The Last Fisherman. This particular film stars Kelly Marie Tran, who's celebrated for her roles in Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and Raya, The Last Dragon. In this film, Control Freak, she stars as Valerie, a woman whose life is spiraling into chaos due to this inexplicable and relentless affliction that she has. The affliction would be her scratching the back of her head. And you know how that is when you get a little scratch and an itch, it is annoying. You can't deal with it. It introduces this chilling narrative about Kelly, who's playing a motivational speaker, and she's tormented by this itch on the back of her head. The premise leads into a terrifying journey as she battles a parasitic demon from her homeland, bringing a fresh and thrilling perspective to the horror genre. Now, the director was tapped to write and direct the short film Control in the 2021 second season of Hulu's Bite Size Halloween. This feature version of Control Freak was developed from his initial short, becoming in the slate of horror films for Hulu. Now, I'm going to come on camera so you can see what I have to say about Kelly Marie Tran in this film, because baby, woo, it was a lot. So Kelly, this is what I love. We very rarely see women of colors, particularly Asian women, in the horror genre in this way. Kelly Marie Tran is letting us have it, y'all. She's playing this successful solopreneur, and she's giving people the wherewithal to try to understand through the horror genre in her performance how stressful and how incredibly eye-opening it is to be an entrepreneur and to do all the things and run your own business. And in this particular case, the stress plays out in her scratching the back of her head. It's a psychological horror more than anything else. But then toward the end, it gets a little more gory and a little more funky. But again, it does make a statement about how women do or do not process the stress from their work and their personal lives. You will jump a couple of times. There was a couple of times I had to look away from the screen because, as I say all the time, horror is not my genre. But when people tell me it's a psychological horror, I'll give it a chance, because most of the time psychological horror isn't as graphic as the other type of horror. So I kind of go with it. The production design and the cinematography in this film is absolutely stellar. I highly suggest that you watch it again. It is called Control Freak, and it is on Hulu streaming right now. Now, Duplicity is a Tyler Perry joint that is streaming on Netflix right now, and it centers around this high-powered attorney named Marley, played by Kat Graham, who's facing her most personal case yet when she is tasked with uncovering the truth behind the shooting of her best friend, Fela, who's played by Megan Tandy. So, without further ado, I did introduce I did interview the cast of Duplicity. So I will let them tell you about their film, and I will stop talking. So here we are, the cast of Duplicity. Take a look and a listen, and I'll be right back.
Good. I'm a Harvey film critic.
Yeah.
I got a couple curves.
So I know we all do, honey. We as Black girls. Insti-who. Kat, I know that you have a tattoo on your inner wrist. It's Latin for know thyself, right?
That's right. From the Oracle's Kitchen, from the Matrix.
Okay. So having said that, how much have you known yourself when faced with a situation where you can see that the surface is just a little bit deeper than what you could have imagined?
I'm embarrassed to say that I have not always listened to it, but have always felt it pretty quickly. Whether, as a teenager or a young girl in my 20s trying to navigate this career, I always feel like I have a good understanding. But it's also, about also just knowing God, right? And just being like, allowing myself to just focus on God, to be honest. That's really what the tattoo is,
I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I've always been told that I'm very intuitive. And so I read off of like a lot of energy. And so I may not myself have a lot of, I may not myself have all of the answers, but just going within myself and just trusting what I'm feeling, because I feel like energy just does not lie. And so you know, it's like when you're feeling energies and you're going off of energies, you just have to just trust that that's, you know, coming from God, and you're trusting that gut. And so, as she said, I mean, I may not always be listening to what I'm feeling, but just trusting that, you know, that you do know and you do feel it, and you can just trust that's the work.
It's true.
You know, in this film, Marley goes out of her way to get to the truth, and she is like a dog
like
with a
that.
bone. She is not letting go. How
goes
far
out
would
of
either
it.
one of you go to get to the truth?
Woo, I would make, they say Virgos would make the best investigator.
Wait, though, you a Virgo?
I'm a triple Virgo.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
September 5th.
I'm September 16th.
Oh, nice.
So it don't take much.
That part.
You know, I could get to the bottom of something very quickly, but I will go down a rabbit hole. I can't let go. I just can't let go. And when I like it, I love it, and I'm that's it. So I have to know. I have to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm not in the Virgo world, but I'm a Taurus, and we are, you know, we're, you know, it's the bull, and we're very stubborn. So if I got my mind on something and I want to figure something out, I'm gonna get that answer.
Yeah, you'll get it.
I'm gonna get it.
Marley went far. Marley went far.
She went the furthest for sure.
I don't know if I go that far. I think, you know, listen, I would do my best. And, you know, at a certain point, I'm going to be like, hey,
Y'all got it.
does that make me a bad friend? Maybe. It might make me a bad friend. When I say it out loud, I feel like I sound like a bad friend. But I'm being honest.
And let's talk a little bit about that training, honey, because y'all was being flung around and falling off boats and all the things. Did you do? Look, I keep it real.
I love it.
Did you have stunt people doing those things for you, or did you opt to do it yourselves?
Both.
Yeah, both.
We had a great stunt team.
Yes.
I mean, just
Yeah, I love the stunt team.
incredible stunt team. They've done huge films, and they're just
They're great.
Yeah, we totally trusted them, and they had our backs, and we had great stunt doubles. But we got in there.
Yeah, we definitely did. Especially
we were in there
during a certain portion. I volunteered myself because I just find it to be very fun, and I wanted to do what I needed to do in that moment. And my stunt double was really, really nice, and she was like, "Yeah, go on up there and do it." And I did it, and you know, here I am.
Yeah. Well, you know, some
Still
stuff
alive.
it's a very like tight shot, right? So it's
Yeah.
like there's still, you know, our coaches, you know, we still have to break those scenes down.
Right.
And I always worry that the inner work, then maybe the stunt double doesn't necessarily have the backstory to my
that's true.
character. And so the timing of it and the realizations and all the things that need to be happening while the action is happening, they might not have the full context of. So I always try and get in there to do my own stunts at 5'2". Mighty.
I'm 5'2" too, but that is my
Come
time,
on,
ladies. I
5'2"
can talk to y'all all
Virgo.
day.
Get club
My
for us.
Taurus and Virgo sisters, I can talk to y'all all day, but that is my time. I'll see you on the next one.
Yes,
See you on the
we will.
next
Thank
one.
Let me
you.
tell y'all something. I've seen y'all in a multitude of different Tyler Perry projects, and usually y'all are the good dudes. This time, y'all are on the other side. How did it feel playing that kind of like dirty, gritty, wrong, you know, side of the fence? I'll start with Ronrico first.
I loved it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know what that says about me, but I think, I think when you've been in the game as long as I have, it's all about breaking people's, you know, kind of perceptions of who you are as an actor and whom you can play. And so whenever I can make people see a different side of me, it's always a win. And I was down for it from the jump. As soon as I saw the script, I'm like, sign me up for that, please.
Yes. Come on, Tyler.
I look at all the roles that I've been blessed to play, that Ryan Rico has been blessed to play. I feel like it's, you know, we're similar in that we're conscious about going into different spaces that people may not be used to seeing us in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, keeping the tools sharp and showing that we have multiple layers of artistry. So it's not just one thing that we can play, even though you may be used to us being that.
Yeah.
Under what circumstances would either one of you dupe someone to get what you wanted personally or professionally, or would you dupe them at all?
I don't know. I think it just depends on what it is that we're after. You know, how high are the stakes is my question.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not the type to steal. You know, but if my family's starving, you know, I may have to.
That
you know what I'm saying?
part.
So it just depends
That
what it is that I'm after. You know, if it's a life and death thing, I might have to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it comes down to family.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that makes me, you know, when somebody does something on behalf of their family, I don't judge. I don't care what it is. You see stuff in the news all the time, and I'm always like, well, hey, I ain't saying I would have handled it that way, but I ain't about to judge my man for how he handled it, because family, the game changes.
I think as family men, it helps us give us a different perspective for sure.
Does.
I feel the same.
I get it. Well, y'all, that's my time. It was a pleasure talking to y'all, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next and talking to you about that one when it comes up.
Can't wait.
All right, me either. Take care. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Duplicity. Duplicity is streaming on Netflix right now. Again, it is a Tyler Perry joint. Tyler Lepley, Ronrico, Megan, and Kat are all the stars of the film. Now, I said a little bit about it before we went to the interview, and I'll tell you about the rest of it. So with the help of her boyfriend, her meaning Megan, and I'm sorry, not Megan, her meaning Kat, who's playing Marley, and her boyfriend is played by Tyler Lepley. So he's a former cop and he's turned private investigator. Marley's search for what really happened takes her down a treacherous maze of deception and betrayal. Now, I felt like this film speaks very loudly to how one can be duped into thinking one thing when the reality is something completely different. There's also a statement about how Black men are oftentimes set up to be arrested and be charged with a crime for something that someone else did. This is the thing. Tyler Perry always has great messages in his films. Sometimes they're not always executed the best. And so I feel like coming on the heels of the 688, this probably wasn't the best of Tyler. And I'm a huge fan of Tyler Perry, but what I appreciate about him is that he's loyal. These actors in this film have worked with him numerous times, and I appreciate the fact that he's loyal. He has employed me. I do appreciate him, and I appreciate his artistry, and I respect the fact that he can churn stuff out as fast as he can. People criticize him about it, and someone always has something to say, but this is the thing. If it was easy, everybody be doing it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I also loved, like I said in the interview, love seeing Tyler and Ronrico do something completely opposite. Because usually in the Tyler Perry films that I've seen them in, they're usually the good guys and they're always on the right side. So it was nice to see them get down and dirty and kind of nasty. And it was nice to see the ladies kind of getting down and dirty and nasty in a different kind of way. There is a twist. I will not spoil it for you, but if you run on over to Netflix and check it out, you will find out what is happening. Bob Trevino Likes It stars Barbara Ferreira and John Leguizamo. I love John Leguizamo. That is my dude. Now, I loved him because he was the person that I would look to when one person shows, him and Whoopi Goldberg. I felt like they're the two people that really kind of put one person shows on the map and make people stand up and pay attention. This film, Bob Trevino Likes It, is based on a true story. It's written by Tracy Lyman, and it's based on an encounter that she had with somebody named Bob Trevino. She had a friendship with this person as she met online. He was a stranger that she found on Facebook while looking for her real father online, who she'd had a falling out with. Often playing the role of a caretaker to people like her father, who should be caring for her, Lily Trevino, who's played by Barbara Ferreira, longs for familial connection. When her father, Robert, finally checks out of her life, she looks for him on the internet and she finds Bob Trevino, the other Bob Trevino. So I will let them tell you about the interview. Let them tell you more about the film, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts on it. So take a look and a listen to this interview with John Leguizamo, Tracy Lyman, and Barbara Ferreira from Bob Trevino Likes It. I understand that this is based on a real life encounter of yours, and my father, as well as Bob Trevino, has some crazy sayings throughout his lifetime that he would pass on that would make me laugh often. Having said that, what is your favorite life quote that someone passed on to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a big fan of dad jokes. I have a sense of humor, as you can probably say, as you probably see in the film. A long time ago, I was trying to write happy endings in films. I only wrote tragedies in the beginning, and a filmmaker mentor in Texas, I asked him, how do you write happy endings? How do you make them count? How do you, I'm writing them and they feel fake. And he says, it's easy. You just have to have your characters earn it. It really is that simple. It's like I've been fumbling in the dark, and then you just turn on a light like it was nothing. And I was like, oh, that's it. It's not the end that's wrong. It's how I'm getting there.
I love that.
So
I love that so much.
I just think a lot of, am I earning my own happy living every day? Am I doing my best? Are my characters doing the best? Because I want everybody to have a happy ending if they can.
I can appreciate that. I also found out that you've referred to breaking your back as the worst and the best experience of your life, right? Resulting in the birth of your first production company, Fractured and Fused Productions. How would you categorize your encounter with Bob, and what is the most important thing you gained from that friendship?
I think what I gained is the knowledge that healing comes in unexpected ways. And that if we can go into doing the same thing over and over, but if we're not open to the beauty that's coming, in different ways, then we might miss something. We might miss a connection. We might miss a journey we're meant to go on. What if I hadn't stayed friends with him? What if it felt good? He had access to my heart because of his name. And what if I'd been like, well, whatever, it's not my dad, I'm moving on. What if then there'd be no movie? You and I wouldn't be talking right now.
This is true. This is true. Do you think that and the other thing that kind of struck me, last but not least, is the fact that the internet gives a sense of a false sense of security. Yeah. When you're reaching out to people and talking to people. Did you at one time go, "What am I doing?"
I think I did that many times. I did it today. Because I want to open up. I came from kind of a traumatic environment, as you can probably tell, and there was a lot of healing that I still needed. But so I couldn't just show up with people in real life and just tell them everything. That was too vulnerable. But I had so much to say, and I needed to be heard. I really as a young person, I really needed to be heard, and I didn't feel heard in many ways. So the internet did give this kind of like false sense of protection of like, oh, I can tell this stranger, that I'm scared, or tell the stranger that I feel this way, and if they judge me, I can just unfriend them.
Right. Oh, that's a good one.
Well, I think within the context of it, maybe I have like reached, I have felt so alone that like, I feel like, connecting through Facebook or through the internet and I kind of like just seeing if anyone was interested. I feel like that's like something that, if I totally could see, probably not the smartest thing to do all the time, but it worked out in the movie, right? Yeah. So,
I can a lot of people on DM, but I have to know who they are first. And then I've met a lot of people. Julian Castro ran for president. We met in San Antonio, and David Brooks, who runs Mother Jones. We've met in person in New York City. So you can meet people who are not in your field, but you respect. I've done.
Oh.
Curvy film critic.
Hey, I just want to say two things up front. Barbara, you are representing the curvy contingency fabulously. I just have to tell you that. And John, we have someone in common, Harold Perrineau. He's like a brother to me.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hello.
What'd you say?
Tell him I said hello. Say what's up.
I certainly will. So I know that this is a crazy story, and I was there for all of it, and I loved your relationship in it and your performances. But what I really want to know is, everybody got some crazy sayings in life. Bob had that one saying where he says sometimes in life ish happens, right? So do you have a favorite quote that a favorite life quote that someone in your family shared with you that you keep with you at all times?
I think believing people when they tell you who they are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think that's like I always think of that. And I always am like, I am always just like, believe people when they tell you who they are. And I'm like, okay, I always like love that quote. And I think it's just like a quote that I've, that really has resonated with me in general, just for everything.
Wow. Yeah. My mom used to always say to me, tú no eres oro para que todo el mundo te quiera. You're not gold to be loved by everybody, so stop it. So
Yeah.
that's what she always used to
I
tell
love it.
I love those. I love those so much. I want to know, what did you guys do to create the bond that you had? Because it was so natural and it was so organic and it was so funny in the best way possible.
I think Tracy Lehman helped it. She set the groundwork for it, because Tracy's a very open, beautiful, generous human being, and she took us to dinner.
Yeah.
We had a lot of meetings together and separate, and I think that really created this bond between us.
Yeah, and we did a rehearsal. We did a little bit of rehearsal where we kind of like, you got to really kind of connect on the scenes and kind of talk it out. And it's great because you're meeting you're both strangers that meet each other. So it's like this like awkwardness that's like sweet and fun. And we got to really kind of like play into like the first time meeting, because we don't know.
Use that.
We don't know
Yeah.
each other that well. So it's like, I mean, now, John and I are best friends. So
So it's a little different.
a little different now. We're besties, but
Okay, so you've met me. I'm in your field. I hope you respect me. And so when I DM you, don't diss me, okay? I'm just kidding. That's my time, y'all.
Because I might have missed it.
That's okay. I'll hit you up again.
Just keep hitting me up.
But thank you so much. That's my time. It was a pleasure to speak with both of you. And I seriously really enjoyed this film. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye. I hope you're not going to unfriend me when I end this interview real quick.
No, never.
Tracy, thank you so much for your time today. I seriously really enjoyed the film, and congratulations. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much, Carla. I'm so glad.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
It was interesting when I watched this film. It hit me a little different for obvious reasons, as I've spoken about earlier. And I was a little emotional watching it. But in addition to it being a very emotional journey, cinematic journey for me, it was fun, and it was surprising, and it was just incredibly delightful to watch. Tracy did a wonderful job adapting her real life experience to the screen, and John Leguizamo and Barbara Ferreira really brought those characters to life in a way that were very real and human and organic, and it was just something really wonderful to watch. But more than anything, it shows you that, like I said in the interview, the internet can provide a false sense of security when it comes to clicking on profiles and things. But this was one time where that sense of security kind of made it worth it. Bob Trevino Likes It is in theaters right now. Magazine Dreams. This is a film that I saw at Sundance 2 years ago. It was right at the height of Jonathan Majors' career. He had Creed was out. He had just played Kang in a Marvel movie, and he was on the trajectory to be the next big thing in the cinematic universe as far as Black male actors were concerned. And then the drama and the scandal hit, and we all know what it is. I don't need to reiterate that. But we did not talk about that because that is not my vibe. That is not what I do. I'm not a pop culture expert. I do not work for Extra. I do not work for any of those hard-hitting entertainment news magazines that want to get the nitty-gritty. That is not my thing. My thing is to simply critique a film and to speak with the talent in the film. And so that is exactly what I did. In Magazine Dreams, Jonathan Majors plays a young man who has some mental instabilities going on, who has dreams of being a worldwide champion, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type of champion, a Mr. Olympia as we were. And he looks up to this one guy in particular, which is why the film is called Magazine Dreams, because he's looked at this guy in magazine after magazine after magazine and dreamed of becoming a champion like his idol. It goes all the way left. Jonathan Majors' body in this film is insane. So we did talk about how he trained to get his body, but we also talked a little bit about the mental stigma that plagues Black people, because Black people, my people, we have a thing about going to therapy and getting help. And even though Killian does get help in this film, he eventually finds himself betraying the person that's actually trying to help him. So without further ado, I won't tell you all about the interview. I'll let the interview speak for itself. This is Jonathan Majors and I speaking about Magazine Dreams. I wrote an article about this when it came out initially because I saw it at one of the festivals. And I talked a lot about the mental stability of Killian and what he was going through. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about, do you think that the rates of depression and anxiety among Black people would change if our reality was different? And the fact that we have such a stigma attached to speaking to therapists and getting that type of help?
Yes, absolutely. I can say this from experience. Like there's a few constraints for me personally, right? One being male, being Black, and being brought up in a Christian household, right? An extremely Christian household, like. Yeah, my mother, yeah. So these three things are, we don't talk like that usually. We take it to the Lord, suck it up. And I'm from the South, right? Throw some dirt on it. You know what I mean? We don't talk about that, stuff like that. All those five things, man, sis, if we as a people, right, could actually utilize the education that we even have within our own culture to help each other, right, with these types of issues, right, we would heal ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, that's what, I mean, look, therapy is great, right? Like, there's no question about it. It's great. Now, if you find the wrong therapist, still, therapy is great. Just find a new therapist. Like, we need to put, my hope for our people is that we put as much energy into, and take as much pride in our strength as we do in our wellness.
That's beautifully said. Before I let you go, I got to talk about your nutrition training for Killian, because your body was insane.
Thank you, sis. Any bodybuilder would tell you it comes down to two things: chicken and rice. Just chicken and rice. Chicken and rice.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you got your supplements like your creatine, or your vitamin C, which is important, B12, which is important. I think I said creatine. Creatine is it's great for your brain and your body, and just like getting busy. You just got to get in there and get busy, no matter what.
Well, you got busy, and it definitely showed.
Thank you.
Your performance in this film is probably your best performance to date. And with that, that's my time. But thank you again so much for allowing me to speak to you today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sis.
So as I said, Magazine Dreams is in theaters right now. I believe it has premiered. I'm not sure how it's doing. I haven't really kept up with that, but I can tell you that his performance in this film is absolutely spectacular. So if you are a fan of bodybuilding, if you are a fan of Jonathan Majors, if you are a fan of these types of films that delve into the psyche of a Black man from a very specific point of view who is also a caretaker, you will enjoy this film. Jonathan Majors in Magazine Dreams. Last but not least, before I get to this final interview, I did an interview with the cast of Happy Face, which is streaming right now as well. Didn't get a chance to finish editing those, but what I will do is I will bring them to you next week, along with some other things that I mentioned prior to that. So last but not least, I had a chance to speak with a friend of mine, Natasha Rothwell. And if that name sounds familiar to you, that is because Natasha is mostly known for playing Kelly on Insecure. She's known for being the showrunner and creator of How to Die Alone, which won a Critics' Choice Award. Not Critics' Choice. It won a it's escaping Spirit Award. It won a Spirit Award earlier this year. And now she's back at it for season 3 of The White Lotus, playing Belinda. And we get all the way into it. It's a fun conversation. So take a look and a listen to this conversation with my good girlfriend, Natasha Rothwell from The White Lotus. Did you get a chance to travel? Have you traveled a lot before having to travel for this show abroad?
Yeah, I'd done a little bit, but this was my second time to Asia. The first time I was there, I was in my late 20s, and I lived in Tokyo for a year. And then my dad was in the Air Force, and so I just moved around a lot and moved around in the States, but we did live in Turkey, in Incirlik, Turkey, for 2 years when I was very, very young. And so travel and exploring new environments is kind of in my DNA. And so when Mike was, said where the show was, because I said yes to the show before I knew where it was. That's how much I love him. We were out to dinner and he was just like, I'm thinking of bringing Belinda back. And I was just like, say less. And when I finally found out where it was, I was so excited because I had never been to Thailand. And it's such a very specific country. I don't know if you know this, but Thailand has never been colonized. It has never been in a war, and it's often referred to by Thai people as the land of many smiles. So it was a beautiful place to be where the country you're in is not in a constant state of historical trauma like the US. And to have that like that levity, because they never experienced colonialism. They never been to war. They have this like the zen and peace is kind of built into the DNA of the country. And it was just a magical place to be.
Yeah, I have been there before. So and like you, I have the military in common. My father was in the Marine Corps.
Oh, that's right.
So we traveled all the time, and we
yes. So you know what it's like to it's nothing for us to be in these new environments. I also, when I talk to other military brats, I don't know if you know, Jay Ellis is an Air Force brat from Insecure.
Not know that.
Yeah, and yes, and we were talking that so many people whose parents were in the armed services find themselves in the arts because it's like military moves. You go and do a show, you become really close, you're there for a little bit, and then you move. It kind of works with how we were brought up,
That's absolutely right. I've had that conversation many times with people over the years. I'm glad you brought it up and I didn't. I try to navigate it where I'm not asking all the questions and, do the thing. What else? You know what I wanted to ask you? When I was watching it, I hollered out loud when y'all were walking across that bridge and that little creature was going across the bridge. I'm like, see, now Mike is wrong for bringing the Black girl realness to a situation because we are not the ones for the critters.
No, I am, and me especially. And I had to, so let me paint a picture. So before that scene happened, as you know, when animals are on set, they introduce the people in the scene with the animal, with the trainer. And so the AD texted me, he was just like, you mentioned you were afraid of lizards, like how afraid? And I was like, what you mean? And he was just like, well, how close are you comfortable? And I was like, I'm close with comfortable as long as like there's a trainer in the room and it works for the scene because my character is not meant to be cool with it. If my character is supposed to be cool with it, that might not have worked. But if my character is meant to be afraid, we can get a little close. And so he's like, well, we're going to have you meet the lizard. So I had to meet this lizard and I was shaking. I met him. I touched the lizard.
It was a play date. I can't.
Like it was a play date. And I was just like, okay, nice to meet you. And this lizard did not go to theater school like I went to theater school. So I was just like, listen, you and me. I looked at the lizard. I was like, you cannot run for me. Just run by me. And on the day, this lizard was so fast when it moved because I didn't see it run. And they had these little clear strings on its neck to make sure that it didn't come for us. And it kept coming right at me. I felt like it just completely betrayed the pact that we made. I was so upset, but it worked.
But then last but not least, I have to ask you about this scene, the whispering scene, girl. First of all, in that particular scene, you're divulging a key piece of information for the season, right? So first of all, how difficult was that to do? Because it's hard enough speaking full throated
Yes.
and being understood, with your enunciation and your pronunciation. How many times did you have to shoot that? And how did you train, girl? Because I was looking at you going, okay, I can understand her, but I know as an actor, I know that was not easy.
Yeah, it's very hard to find the right pitch of whisper where the mic can pick you up and the person across from you can hear you, but it's believably hushed for the environment. And we did it a bunch of times, and I had just when we did it the first time, Mike and I, we really kind of calibrated where the voice needed to be, and we only played with intensity. Like I learned this from him season 1, like we're very similar. We're very good at what we do and we're the good student. So when the director gives us a direction, we nail it. And he picked one of the quieter takes, which was just like really trying to like project while whispering and really focusing on Fabian, played by Christian, in that scene, just to show how afraid Belinda was in that moment. And I kind of tried to let the whisper and the voice kind of carry in that soft way.
Loved how Mike let Belinda be a full throated, say it with your chest kind of character.
Yeah.
She was authentically Black,
Yep.
but she was authentically a mom. She was authentically someone who had a romantic life and a job that didn't involve her being a maid. She wasn't she was someone of service, but of a different type of service.
Yeah.
And I appreciated all of that. And I imagine that must have been wonderful for you to get to play.
Oh, yeah. And we worked on it. When I got cast season 1, that was my first, conversation with my agents. I was just like, and mind you, it was so funny. I didn't audition the first season, if you can believe it. I just met with Mike. They were just like, Mike wants to meet with you. He's working on this thing. And we had yeah, I had a conversation. And after I found out what the role was, after we talked and he sort of talked me through what it was, I let my team know. I was like, I'm nervous taking on a Black character in a mostly white cast who's in a servile position. I want to make sure she has 10 toes down. Would Mike be open to working with me? Because I'm a writer as well, and just making sure that we're not, veering into tropes. And he jumped at it. When I tell you he is so enthusiastic about like collaborating, that's one of the things I love about him. And because we're both writers, we geek out about the words, and he knows because I wrote for someone else when I was also in the show. I never tried to like write myself into a scene or make it more about me. There's no ego when I write. To me, I'm like, let's tell the best story, and he's the best writer. And so it's in service of the story he's telling. And so we really clicked when we collaborated. And, in season 2, we did the same process. I met with him and we were, did every page of Belinda's. We went through and I would give him ideas about, oh, she's going to wear a bonnet to bed. And he's like, got you, and I pitched him the idea. I was just like, Belinda's seeing a Black couple traveling, in that first episode. I was like, that happens every time I travel, luxury travel. When Black people see other Black people in those spaces, we have to show that moment where she gets to see herself in that space and gets to dream. And that made the cut. And he's so wonderful about, working together to avoid those pitfalls that often happen when you have a Black character in a role in a mostly homogenous environment, in a servile position. And so it's a joy to play a character that's so 10 toes down. And this season, we really get to see her bloom. And so we get to see even more of that, which is just so exciting to play and such an honor. Like I love him and I love this work. And I have, like Belinda, I want to take care of her so much. And so to be able to play her again was just a dream come true. It would have been easy for me to be quiet. It would have been easy for me not to say something. But I feel like in doing that, it's not just benefiting me, it's benefiting all of us. It's showing the industry our capacity as women and how we are not one dimensional. We're not a monolith where we have all of these different colors. And so thank you for saying that. That means a lot coming from you. It really does.
Listen, I know you're not that girl. And so I would be remiss. Okay. I'm keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100, girl.
I know you're not that girl. And so I was like, let me just acknowledge that while I'm speaking to you and let
Thank
you
you.
know that if I saw that, and I think that there are other people that concur. So I just wanted you to know that from me, because I'm a friend and a fan, but you know this.
Yes, you know this. You know this.
With that, girl, I'm going to let you go. And I thank you so much for popping through and saying hi to your good girlfriend, the Curvy Film Critic. And I hope we get to do this again. You're a great interview. I love talking to you.
Likewise. I hope we get to do this again.
I would love that.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
The thing that I always appreciate about Natasha Rothwell is that she always brings a realness and intelligence to the characters that she plays. And they're not, like she said, a monolith or stereotypical. And as a Black woman who has also dabbled in acting for quite some time, I can appreciate that. So thank you, Natasha, for taking time out for me to talk about The White Lotus. White Lotus Season 3 is streaming on Hulu right now. All right, so now let's get into Miss Snow White, honey, because I know y'all have been waiting for me to talk about her. Miss Snow White. Snow White debuted this week. Let's pull my little picture up. She debuted this week. It is a Disney joint, and it debuted this week. Most of the critics loved it. I have seen people say that it is the best live action film that Disney has done, and more on those lines. This is the one time in my life that I saw a Disney project that I do not agree. I don't agree that this was the best live action that Disney has done. As a matter of fact, I thought it was okay. I felt like this is not the fairy tale. If you're going into this thinking it is the fairy tale of Snow White that we are used to seeing and have seen in the past, you are going to be sore. You're going to be upset. That's what I have to say about that. It has a little bit of a darker tone. I feel like Gal Gadot kind of steals the film from Rachel Ziegler a little bit. And this is not taking anything away from Rachel Ziegler. Rachel Ziegler is beautiful. We loved her as Maria in West Side Story. She has a beautiful voice. It is pitch perfect. But I just felt like from an acting point of view, Gal Gadot does kind of just wipes the floor with her a little bit from an acting point of view. From my perspective, Rachel does a lot of wide-eyed acting. And when she sings, like I said, it's lovely and it's gorgeous. But I just feel like Gal was the better one of the two in the film. I did not like those dwarves. Like, I could not understand why they didn't have just like real people playing the dwarves. I didn't understand why the dwarves had to be live action. I had a problem with that. It bothered me. I don't know why it bugged me, but it did. The songs were nice songs, and they were executed and sung very well by every actor in the film, but they were mostly unforgettable. I couldn't tell you the name of one of those songs or hum the melody from it. And y'all know me, I usually always try to find something positive to say about a film. I usually don't say anything negative. And honestly, this isn't negative. This is just me speaking the truth. And I'm the curvy critic. I shoot straight from the hip. So I got to call it like I see it. I see there's some comments. Let me see who's up in here. Lilo and Stitch looks fun. I know that's right. You agree, family. Oh, yeah. You know, I'm just saying it is what it is. Thank you, Sarah Productions and Brandon, for popping in. Y'all are live, true blue to the end. Love you for it. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Miss Snow White. The costumes were gorgeous, but that was the other thing. I wasn't even a big fan of Snow White's signature yellow and blue outfit. I wasn't a fan of the wig. I walked away from this film and I just didn't get it. And I felt really bad because I know I'm in the minority on this one, but I just didn't get it, y'all. I mean, I know it's not made for me. I know it's not made for an adult. It's made for kids. But if I'm being honest, at the screening I went to here in St. Louis, the kids were getting up and going out of the theater every 2 seconds. It didn't even keep their attention, if I'm being honest. So that's what I have to say about Snow White. If you want to hear what else I had to say about Snow White, you can go to the BBC World Service Radio and hear what else I said about it there. But it's pretty much what I'm saying here. So you won't hear anything that different. So again, these are the films that I talked about. I talked about Miss Snow White. I talked about Control Freak, which is streaming on Hulu. Duplicity, which is streaming on Netflix. I also spoke about Bob Trevino Likes It, which is in theaters right now. Magazine Dreams, which is in theaters right now. And when I come back next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about The Life List, The Friend, The Ballad of Wallace Island, and Fight for Glory 2024 World Series documentary. Again, if this is your first time joining me, please give me a thumbs up to let me know that you were here, whether you watched it in real time or after the fact. And, you know, check back with a sister. You never know who you're going to see here, honey. I got surprises all the time. Sometimes I surprise myself. But I will be back in LA as of this week, and so my background will be different. I have this lovely background for right now, courtesy of my god sister. So thank you for that. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for supporting me and for watching this podcast and for giving me your thoughts and your comments. It really does mean the world to me, and I couldn't do it without you watching it, okay? So until the next time, baby, love, peace, and hair grease, and I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.